Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Disc Golf Answer Man. I'm Bobby Cool, Daddy Slick Breeze, and this is kind of a special tryout, a special episode where we're going to talk about some off-season, but I reached out to a few players on the Team Dynamic Discs. We have a Facebook group, a private Facebook group where we talk, and I asked and said, does anybody have anything they want to talk about in the off-season? And I had these wonderful gentlemen say, yes, I have plenty to talk about in the off-season. So I thought we don't have the tour stops to talk about. Tournaments kind of slow down, but we still have some tournaments happening. But I thought maybe this might be some helpful information for you, our listeners and our watchers, to find out, hey, these are some things that I can do during the off season. Of course, sometimes I get made fun of when I say off season because there is no off season in disc golf, I'm told. But I mean, things do kind of slow down. So, but just to start us out, let's kind of do a round the table and just kind of give me a quick introduction of who you are and what you do. Tyler, we'll start with you.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tyler Searle from Dynamic Discs. Tournament director primarily, recreational disc golfer that really enjoys beating people at a league. So I invite you guys to come down anytime and play a league with me on Wednesday mornings at the Pineapple League. Whenever I'm at home, you got to wait till I'm home, but you guys can go down there and practice, and I'll still get you when we come home.
Nice. And Kyle, tell us about yourself.
Hey, y'all, I'm Kyle Giovannini. I've been with Team Dynamic Discs since 2018, quite a while. And I'm kind of right at that 1,000 rated level pro. I play, 10, 20 tournaments a year, have a good time. Didn't have the greatest year this year. We moved, so still trying to get settled here in North Carolina area. But looking forward to this. I think it should be a good time, Bobby.
All right, and then finally, Brandon.
Hey, I'm Brandon Watson. Been with Team Dynamic Disc since 2017. Was doing competitor as a professional level, had some injuries, set me back, decided to start designing courses, started a club, run tournaments, and do the TDs thing. And then this last year, I actually was able to kind of jumpstart my competitiveness again. And I was the MA40 Wisconsin Tour champion this year. Had a lot of success in jumping back into the professional rankings in MP40 next year and see how that goes. So
nice. Well, again, thanks, guys, for joining the show. I know we're going to learn a lot, and I know our followers are going to learn a lot from what you got going on. I'm going to start out first because one of the things Kyle said in our little Facebook group was that he talks about getting back into the gym and working on staying in shape or maybe even getting better in shape. So, Kyle, how important is it for people to understand how, if they want to get out and they want to do a lot of tournament play and they want to be successful, how important it is to be healthy and in great shape? How does that help someone's disc golf game?
I think it's one of the most underappreciated aspects of being an athlete in disc golf is the knowledge, the ability to take care of your body, take care of your joints and your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, like being flexible, flexibility and the ability to bend and contort your body, especially if you're if you're ever in an awkward stance, you know how uncomfortable that can be. You're in a patent pending stance and for whatever reason you need to throw it hard. I have seen people's rounds end when they take a bad step off of a shot. And a lot of that comes down to the work that you put in throughout the year on just staying limber. But I like to use the off season in particular as sort of a kickstart into approaching next season. So I look back at my year this year. I look back at 2025 and I go through each tournament and I try to break it down mentally and see where my my physical shape either helped or hurt, and kind of trying to remember what I was doing during those times of the year, what level of shape I was in. And, thinking back this past year, I really tore up round one. I think my average round rating across I think I played 13 tournaments this year. I think my average round one rating was like 1030. Just tore up round one. And then round two, I would come out flat, on those 2 rounds in a day tournaments, or if we're playing like a tea time event 2 times, 1 round Saturday, 1 round Sunday. My second round struggled all year. So one of my main focuses going into this off season is going to be like doing 2-a-day workouts. So working out in the morning, whether that's getting cardio in or hitting the gym or going to play pickleball for a couple hours. And then again in the afternoon, getting the opposite workout in. So if I hit the gym, get a workout, get a lift in, then do cardio in the evening, vice versa. And the point being to stress my body in the morning and in the evening so that when 2026 tournament time rolls around, I'm not lagging behind in that second round. I'm not having, built up a lead and then just watch it get dwindled down as I just flag in my energy. Shots aren't as crisp. Mental stuff isn't quite there. So yeah, off season is a really good time for personal reflection, how your round went, how your year went, right? How your body felt throughout the year. There were times this past year where I felt crisp and clean, and a lot of that had to do with my diet, like if I was eating very healthy, if I was staying consistent with my workouts and with my diet, versus if, it's like July 4th time and I have one too many Twinkies, right? So that's one of the things that I enjoy about the off season is the opportunity to self-reflect and then start to prepare, build a workout regimen, build an off season field work and putting regimen that's not going to burn me out, but it's going to kind of build me up over and over and over again. The goal being that like by March 1, I'm, thumbs up, ready to go, ready to see the season.
Yeah. Now, Tyler, I want to put you into this because you and I have actually talked about health and physical training and stuff like that. Now, I'm sure people probably notice as in a couple of videos, I've kind of let myself go, but you, sir, always stay in peak shape. And I remember the days where you used to tell me you would do your speed disc golf. When you would go to a stop, you would go to the stop, get there, and to kind of get familiarized with the course or just to get your workout in, you go play some speed golf. So I know that you know all about the staying in shape. So what do you do as someone that travels a lot to stay in shape?
Yeah, I love speed golf for seeing courses when I'm on the road. It's my favorite way to see a course, to learn about the local tracks, just to be able to interact with the local disc golfers, to be related to them. And then, like Kyle's saying, just to get that little bit of movement in, especially as a touring disc golfer or someone who's on the road. If you have a drive, I love getting out of the rig and then be able to go for a nice light jog, throw some discs, be outdoors, get some air moving through you. Just a really great way to kill two birds with one stone from my tournament director point of view, and then to get that little bit of workout in. Bobby, I thought you were going to mention there was a time we were in Bowling Green years ago, and nobody would meet me at the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And you were like, "You're going to work out?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Like I'm on the road half the year. If I skip all these workouts, then I just skipped half a year of working out." So I always work out first thing in the morning with my wife or by myself, just to make sure, like Kyle says, I get something in. Like I can, like the clock in our schedules, we become servants to them as the day goes along, I feel like. So if you get control of your calendar or your day right away, first thing, then you got that one won. So that's my biggest recommendation to everybody, is to take control of your calendar or your clock early in the morning. If gains are part of your goal, is to really get that workout in first thing, and then you got one win to start the day.
What about you, Brandon? You got any kind of routine or anything that you do to make sure that you're in shape for during the season and then in the off season?
Hot tub. Did we freeze up?
Yeah,
on
so
it?
this
I think he froze up. Okay, we'll wait on Brandon, see if he comes back in. Kyle, tell us if there's something specific as far as a muscle group or anything that you're doing specifically for the off season to make sure you're ready to go for the next season.
Yeah, so disc golf is a very asymmetric movement, right? So if you allow yourself, say you really only train backhand, you can develop quite a bit of muscle on certain parts of your body, and if you don't take the time to do those same movements the opposite side, right? So most of us aren't throwing right hand backhand and then flipping around and throwing left hand backhand. So to counterbalance that, you have to get in the gym and you have to work out both sides of your body. Counterpoint to that, one of my favorite things to do in preparation for disc golf is asymmetric workouts. So like doing one arm dumbbell bench press, one arm rows, right? One arm bent over rows is one of the best possible weightlifting workouts you can do for disc golf, in my opinion. Because it helps you get, a nice deep back, nice deep shoulder. And then if you're doing it correctly, you're pulling kind of all the way through this range of motion. So you're really working out the back of your shoulder. You're making sure the backside of your shoulder, your labrum is staying fit. I don't recommend doing it with a lot of heavy weight. I think that's something that maybe I don't know, people who lift weights in disc golf get caught up too much on doing heavy weight. We're not moving heavy weight. It's 170 grams worth of plastic. So the focus should be on lighter weights. You don't even need that high of reps. Might maybe do your set count, have your set count go up. But yeah, so like asymmetric workouts are one of my favorite things to do when it comes to working out. We're working for disc golf, trying to build those muscles.
We got you back, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm back. So
Yeah, what you got? What input you have on the training and physical health?
yeah, so one of the keys to my success this year, and I think it's coming off of a shoulder. I had a labrum surgery on my throwing arm. I had Achilles surgery a few years after that. The biggest thing for me was chiropractic care. I would see the chiropractor on the Wednesday before every tournament, and just getting my body in line, and it alleviates some of that shoulder and back pain. And doing that as part of my regular routine has helped tremendously, not just in disc golf, but I sit in the desk a lot as a sales rep, and it has some wear and tear on your body just doing that. So chiropractor has been amazing for me. The other thing was, the tournaments that you're climbing up and down steep ravines, like Justin Trails here in Wisconsin. It is up and down a hillside that is just rolling hills, and it takes a toll on you physically, which didn't allow me to focus on the mental game. I was more worried about catching my breath and trucking through the course. And so just really focus on drinking more water, doing a little more, swimming, doing some biking, and doing some of that physical stuff to get the cardio going and build up some more stamina and prepare me for those longer tournaments, those bigger courses. Because we do have a lot of shorter, quicker courses, generally speaking, on the Wisconsin tour. So when I go play some of the big boys, it takes its toll, and
Yeah, I bet it
especially because
does.
I'm not getting younger.
Yeah,
Right.
I know
Then
that feeling.
Bobby, that was something I thought of too when you were talking about just wellness and starting seasons, and Kyle with strength training. Um, a lot of people are, we're on where we're gaining, and then we're kind of regressing at times. But even if you're still on early in your journey of wellness and becoming a healthier individual, like, you can be intentional with your diet and the way that you hydrate leading up to the event, and that'll go a long way, even as you're getting better with your strength and your cardiovascular health. Like, just take a couple days to make sure you're hydrated before that event starts, especially when we get into the summer months, and that dehydration can start to become a factor. If you want to feel better, treat yourself a little bit better as we get closer. Maybe not that Friday night B-dubs like we used to do when we were younger with the tall boys and the fried
Yeah.
chicken sandwiches.
So speaking of that, Tyler, I mean, you've been running events for a long time, so you've seen a lot and you've traveled. Have you noticed that people have taken their health a little? Not that people didn't take their health seriously, but I remember back in the day when guys would wake up and they had pizza the night before and they stayed up late and they drank and had a good time, and then they woke up and it was a monster drink, and that's what they took to the course to get ready for a tournament. I don't think people tend to really do that a lot nowadays, but have you noticed any difference in people's attitude toward that when it comes to tournaments?
I think certainly on the professional disc golf side for sanctioned events, a lot of people treat that a lot more seriously than they did years ago. Like, no one had resistance bands, in as part of their kit when we were getting started, and a lot of athletes will have resistance bands. And guys, even our weekend warriors, that hop out for your local C tiers, you're going to see them stretching a lot more now than they used to. And I don't know who to give that credit to. I'll give Seth Muncie and Disc Golf Strong a nod for kind of getting the ball rolling on those lines. But I'm sure Seth would just be happy to hear about people not being hurt. So,
Yeah.
just there's definitely been a turn towards wellness overall in the sport, whereas before, yeah, I think it was a better, more of a lean towards the cheese curds and the beers over there with Brandon.
Yeah. What's one thing, Kyle, that you're going to work on specifically with your throw, or maybe with your putt, or something that you're going to work on in the off season?
So specifically for my throw, moving from, most recently we're in the Kansas City area, and then now I'm in North Carolina. So I went from throwing high speed, overstable discs on 2/3 of the course to I can move through most of the courses that I play here with a flippy mid range and get all the distance and shapes that I need to. So it is a vastly different type of disc golf. I have begun to acclimate. I think I've only got 3 or 4 drivers in the bag now. 2 more mid ranges, 2 more fairway drivers than I've carried in years and years. So for me, one of the focuses this off season is we've got a couple of decent wooded tracks here within a 30-minute drive of me. And my focus is going to be just getting more confident and more consistent at hitting angled lines through the woods, right? So my backhand form is good. It's clean. I throw hard. I throw plenty hard enough to where I don't need power in the woods here. Most of the par fours at the one course we have that's got par fours, I can throw and then jump putt, right? If I get a good throw off, it's a throw, it's a full drive and then a jump putt to the pin. But that's not what most of the holes are here competitively wise. Like competitively, local B tiers, local C tiers, A tiers, most of the holes are between 280 and 350 feet, and they're about that wide. They're tiny. So for me, it's going to be working on, I haven't decided. I might go the Eric McCabe route and just lean into the hyzer release, really try to learn that corkscrew kind of hyzer stand-up release. Because my natural release angle is very flat. I throw a very flat disc, and if I'm on, it's really nice. But with that flat release, you're trusting a stable disc, and if you pull it left to right, let it go left, it's really easy to miss a fairway. Versus like a more understable disc on a steeper angle, you're able to kind of get the disc to do some work as it stands up. So that's one of the focuses for me this offseason is just putting more time into slower, flippier discs on a steeper angle.
Gotcha. What about you, Brandon? Anything specifically that you're working on?
Yeah, for the off season for me, it's a few years back we started indoor putting league at one of our local bowling alleys. They've got a conference center attached to it, and it's been a great way for us to get the local disc golf community together indoors, because here in Wisconsin, not all of us play in the snow or enjoy it. So we've been doing that, and we set up different divisions. We've got our pros putting on the marksman basket, and then we've got our other divisions putting on a veteran basket. And it just allows us to practice at, say, that 15, 20, 25, 30, 35-foot range. And, we've got some points. You can buy in. We keep an easy system. Since we've implemented that, probably 5-6 years ago now, that first season start in March or April when Wisconsin Tour starts. That's the best I've ever played. Those are some of the best finishes from our local players. So we're seeing the results of it, and it's once a week. We do a Monday night, and just practicing a couple rounds on a Monday night and seeing how much that improved my game really got me focused on doing it a little more frequently, even during the season, and getting the baskets out in the backyard. And the thing I've found for me personally was the marksman basket, practicing on that. And even when you miss, you're like, oh, mentally I thought I missed. And when we're on an actual course, we're playing full-size basket, your misses start becoming makes. And all of a sudden the confidence starts rolling. Like I can't miss. And, slowly but surely, I went from improving in the circle putts to 30, 40, and even 50-foot putts feel more like 15-footers to me. So that was really, it drove a lot of cutting in my score this last year and the last few years, as I just become more consistent in longer range putts, and especially in the circle, improving the percentage there. So highly recommend starting one or finding a local indoor putting league or outdoor putting league. I know I've done some in Florida and other places, some of the breweries and other places, but just finding
Let's touch base.
consistency.
Yeah, let's touch base on that because when we head into the winter months, most places they can't go outside because of the weather. It's too cold or the snow's coming down. But even in other places where it does stay relatively warm, our days get a little bit shorter. So when you get off work, there isn't much daylight left. So a lot of times people will turn to indoor activities to make sure they keep disc golf going within their game. So, Brandon, I know, like you mentioned, an indoor putting league. Tell me a little bit about how that really helps the disc golf community stay active and the value that it brings to it.
I mean, we have a real small, tight knit community here, and I started our Sheboygan Eagles Disc Golf Club. So it it allows people. We've got from 50, 60 plus year olds. We've got kids. We've got everybody from, we got males, females, you name it. Everybody comes together. We can give advice to each other. Like, we get some new players that they just want to get engaged. They want to get connected with the disc golf community. And it gives us a chance, more experienced players, to help guide them, show them, ways to improve their putt. Sometimes it's just shortening up your putt a little bit, less body movement, so there's less room for air, and helping them find a putter that works well for them, because that's part of it. If you've got a certain stroke or the way that you putt, but the putter you have just doesn't fit for it, or you're not confident with it, it doesn't come out clean. I can bring my boxes of a variety of putters and here, try this, try that. So it's good for that aspect, and really we have fun. They got food, drinks, just hang out, catch up with each other. Because disc golf's, it's a family, and like a family reunion every Monday. So it really brings us together and gets us ready for the season. Good time to talk about ideas, what we want to do for future tournaments. Um, Anything that we want to make changes on the course. It's just a time to come together for us.
Yeah. Tyler, when you're out there out and about, of course you stay kind of relatively in Florida, right?
This time of year, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Do any of the places that you work with, any organizations do more of indoor putting, or is it still nice enough to be outside?
I mean, there are a couple of breweries that we'll move inside to if we need to, but like where I'm at right now is an outdoor putting league. Monday nights in Orlando is an outdoor putting league. Um, yeah, as I think about it, all of the putting leagues I do in the winter are outdoor, but it's dark. It's still dark outside, Bobby. You're right, it's dark. So, we do have to make sure that we have opportunities to be in places that we can get lit up at least. If it's not raining, then we can move inside at some of these breweries. They have space for us. But I like what Brandon was saying. I like the community aspect of a putting league because when it comes time for the summer to roll around, then you've had a winter of being together as a community. You know who you can rely on when the club needs to run those events, those B tiers and A tiers. So that's kind of your core group. And from a practice standpoint, going to putting league is putting with intentionality. Whereas sometimes in your backyard, you can go get your 50 putts in or your 100 putts in, but not really remember anything you did, but that you got your number. So putting that scoreboard up there sometimes will help, and a little bit of money on the line if it's a side bet, or if the league plays for money or whatever however that league works. Just that keeping a little scoreboard is often nice for folks.
Yeah. Kyle, have you participated in any indoor putting leagues, and what have you seen that's been successful?
Well, here in North Carolina, they had a putting league going at a local pizza parlor, outdoor putting league, and they did like 4 or 5 stations between like 30 and 60 feet or something like that. And I think that kind of slowed down as the summer was going on. They didn't have a lot of people showing up. The fellow that runs it, I'll be getting with him, trying to find a venue that maybe has an indoor space. Because I've really been lucky in there have been quite a few places where I've lived where we had a great indoor putting league. The first indoor putting league I ever went to was actually in Leesburg, Virginia, up near where my in-laws are. And that's at like a big local craft brewery, and they have this really cool event space that they let the disc golfers use on like a random Thursday night. It was their slowest night of the week, and then now it's one of their most lucrative nights of the week. So if you're looking for a venue to partner with you, like you can just say, hey, look, I'm gonna put 35 or 40 guys in your bar that are looking to have a good time. Most bars, most breweries will be like, that sounds like a great idea. Does Tuesday work? Breweries, bars, those are good places to go. I've also done them in churches. Like they've got, oftentimes the churches will have like those carpeted, like gym floor spaces, and those make wonderful putting venues. You can really kind of space out some putts. the putting league in Kansas City, actually run by now Nexus Disc Golf. So they used to be like the Kansas City Disc Golf. It's Kansas City like Dynamic Disc Stores. It's the Nexus Disc Golf kind of conglomerate now. They're in KC. They run a super competitive putting league. It's like random draw doubles. You walk in and then you do it like it's like 25 putts, and that's your warm up. And depending on how many of those 25 you make, that like sets you into either an upper or lower bracket. And then they have a random number generator that partners you up, one person from the higher bracket, one person from the lower bracket, and that's your team for the night. And then they just go like kind of cornhole style, 3 putts a piece, and like you make 1 putt's worth 1 putt, 1 point, 2 putts is worth 2 points, and then 3 putts is worth 5 points. And they played at 21. That was super fun, very competitive. It also like it really kind of, you can put yourself on the spot because it's, you're not just putting for yourself, you're putting for your buddy to make his money back too. So indoor putting leagues, very good way to test yourself mentally, right? Especially if there's something on the line, whether that, is like Tyler said, is like a name on a leaderboard, or if it's for, $25 at the end of the night. Just having that little bit of something to play for, I find always helps sharpen up, putting skills when the season comes.
Yeah, definitely putting something on the line always makes you play just that little bit much better, which I think is great. Another topic that I said we're going to talk about that I think is interesting. I know that when we come out with new molds and we want you guys to try out the new molds as team players, a lot of times, not all the time, but sometimes, I hear from some players who are like, I think this is a good disc, but I don't want to put it in my bag quite yet because I'm really comfortable with especially about in the middle of the season. You really get used to the discs that are in your bag, and you get a little nervous about trying out a new disc in the middle of a tournament. So in my mind, I'm thinking the off season is probably a great time to really test out a disc, to see if it is a disc to make it your bag. Am I right in thinking that, Brandon? Is this really a good time to do things like that?
Yeah, I'm one of the brave ones that tends to try stuff during the season. I'll do it during the practice round, and um, you know, doing that, I fell in love with the Treason this year, which has been phenomenal for me. There's a few times I've thrown it, and I don't have the confidence with it or fully know how it's going to fly in every condition. So eh, maybe not the smartest all the time. So I think off season's probably a little bit better. But I've had some fun shots with it. Uh, I think what really deters me is after all the surgeries, the cold weather that starts creeping in. It, I've found myself playing a lot less in the winter, and really, I don't start playing again till March or April, and that's usually when I'm coming down April for Dynamic Disc Open or Glass Blown Open, without playing all off season and expect to do well in 40-mile-per-hour winds. So that it's been a challenge for me, but it is a perfect time, when you are traveling around, because I do travel a lot for work, to bring those discs, a nice casual round, try some new stuff. And I usually bring a limited number of discs when I travel for business trips. So if I'm down south, I'll grab a couple discs that I don't know, very well. Maybe they'll fit a spot, or, something that I'm looking to do just a little bit better, or fly just a little bit differently, maybe slightly less stable, slightly more overstable, from what's in my bag right now, and find something that's going to fit that spot based off of, other feedback. I know Kyle does a lot of good, videos and clips, and we got a lot of team members that go out and test stuff when we get them. So I'll watch those, even for myself, and see which ones is going to be a good fit for me and what I'm looking for in a new disc.
Yeah, Kyle, how do you do that? How do you figure out, if there's a new one you want to try, or if there's maybe not a new mold, but a mold that you just hadn't thrown in a while, or you hadn't given a chance? What's kind of your process for figuring that out during the off season?
Yeah, so for me, I'm an engineer by trade, so I enjoy like the concept and the execution of like disc design. I really enjoy throwing discs designed specifically for the shots that I'm throwing. And what I find now is all of my understable discs are stable discs or overstable discs that have been in my bag for a long time. So, like, my go-to hyzer flip driver in the woods right now is the prototype Sargent that we got back in 2020, right? It's just worked in and worked in and worked in, and it's my go-to. About knocked over my water. It's my go-to, like, hyzer flip disc in the woods. I can trust it on a lot of different lines. I throw a forehand, I throw a backhand, and every time I throw it, all I can think is if this disc disappears into the nether, I don't have a disc to replace it. I don't have a mold to replace it. Same thing. I've got a really beat up prototype ring evader that is my, like, fairway driver for, like, if I'm powering down and throwing that hyzer flip shot through the woods. It's with that evader. And I don't have another evader that flies like that. They're all either too stable or they're really understable. Like they've been bananaed or something like that. So for me, what I do is I go through my bag and I look at discs that I threw well this year, and discs that I didn't throw well, discs that I tried to force into slots that they're probably not designed for. Like, I didn't bag a Felon for a long time. I just preferred the Criminal. I throw it forehand, I throw it backhand, and the Criminal, to get it to fly the way you need to fly, you have to hit it hard. You have to throw it hard, which I like to do. But I couldn't quite get some of the forehand lines to execute. I just could not execute them with the Criminal. So about halfway through the season, I put a Felon back in the bag. It was one of those Gavin Rathbun, the Hybrid X Felons. Super great. Flat top, nice and overstable, but it's a little easier to get it to fly than a Criminal. I don't have to absolutely murder it to get it to fly some good forehand lines. So occasionally a disc will make my bag in the middle of the season, but now, especially one of the quests for this off season, I got 35 or so new discs to go through with in a new box, and it's going to be finding stock discs that I can replace that Sargent with, that I can replace that evader with. That I can replace, like, very recently I've been bagging just a really beat up Supreme Fugitive for my straight mid-range for a long time, and it got absolutely warped. Hit something with it and then just did not fly the same. So then I've been searching, trying to find a disc to fill that slot. Well, luckily for me, the new EMAC Truth, the retooled EMAC Truth came out, and it flies perfect, exactly the way I want that disc slot to fly. So that was lucky. That was like, oh man, that was just instantaneous replacement. But that kind of 10-11 speed slot, I don't know if that needs to be the Escape. Most of the Escapes that I've tested recently are pretty flippy. Maybe a Musket, or like a, I don't know, Fortress or something like that. I don't know what's going to be in that slot. And then for the Evader, I don't know if it needs to be an Explorer or if I just need to find the right run of Maverick or Stag. I don't think I've ever actually thrown a Stag, but I've heard they're a good hyzer flip, kind of straight fairway driver. So that's going to kind of be one of the things that I do this off season, is chasing those molds that'll fill those slots out in the stock spot.
Well,
That
you
sounds like
mentioned
a fun video series.
I
Can't wait
know,
to see.
right? Hello, there you go.
Yeah, chasing the bag.
Yeah, Tyler was reading my mind. You mentioned something about Supreme Fugitive. I can't give anything away, but you'll be excited about a release we have for next year. So we'll move on from that. Tyler, Tyler?
Yeah, tease me like that.
Tell me a little bit about what you see and hear out there when you're talking to different players. Are the casual, because you're more the casual player that's out there that you talk to more. They're not really the touring pros, but they're the ones that play tournaments still. They're competitive, but they still, I get the feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, they're more just I want to have a good time on a weekend playing some disc golf with my buddies and put something on the line, right? Am I right with that assessment?
Yeah, both, but I think probably the ones that come and run up to talk to me because they know we're gonna have fun when we visit. So they may be a little bit more casual in their approach to their bags. Still competitive. I mean, I'm a tournament director, right? So
right.
I'm talking to tournament golfers, but maybe with the way that I approach the tournament environment, it's a little bit more positive. I'll say loose. It's not loose. We're still sanctioned. We're still doing all the rules, but we might make fun of you on the mic still, kind of thing. So there's a bit of fun that goes along with an event when we're doing them. So this time time of year, like despite the fact that we're still in A-tier season down here, and it's, this is the Florida season, we call it. We run a trillion events because of the mindset of the industry. This is just the time of year that kind of people have to think about the resets and what they might do. Even if we're down here kind of in our competitive season, people are starting to work on their bags just because the industry tells us that that's what we're supposed to do, right? So we have a ton of touring pros that are down here that are going to influence the way our more casual or regional disc golfers approach their mindset as well. So it's still going to be a season to reset, just given the outside influences on us.
Would you say people are more risk averse to trying something new, or they're pretty open to trying new things when you suggest new discs for them to get?
Well, the benefit of me and the RV is we have the test drive bins, right? So
Yeah.
even given a few throws, if there's a chance, right? Or if there's just no chance. So when I'm able to give someone a stack of discs, kind of a long, a kaleidoscope, a myriad of kind of shots and shapes that based on what they tell me they think their straightest disc is, or their favorite disc, kind of a question that I like to give people to get a feel for their arm speed and the way that they maybe throw the disc. Then I can give them 5 discs to go try. If I'm able to watch them throw them, and then we can kind of dial it in to get them pointed in the right direction, which is great. Not everybody has a chance to do test drives, but we do have buyback stores. So that kind of gives you a little bit of that flexibility. Or, maybe your regional retailer or your Play It Again, you can get a chance to check out a buyback, or if they're not a buyback, just, dip into your buddy's bag and figure out what works for you, kind of thing.
What I just had a question pop in my mind because I'm drawing back upon my experience when I used to travel quite a bit and talk to players. Are players still willing to try something new, or do they stick with their trusted molds that they love?
So I think it depends upon the athlete, right? If you're a high arm speed guy and you can really trust and see what other high arm speed guys, like Kyle knows what 1030 feels like, so he can throw disc that 1030 players throw. Now the rest of that 950 and down, they're not, they're probably not going to run right out and grab a Q-Line DD3 because Gannon threw it 690 feet at USDGC. Because they're just like, I can't do it. Let me touch it. I want to feel it. Woo, woo. Now some of them might grab it, but I think more of them are better informed now. They're just not necessarily going to grab that 12, 13 speed thing just because it's new and fresh. They just don't. They can't throw it in some cases. So there's more informed thanks to guys like you, Bobby and Eric.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Now, this is a topic I didn't tell you guys about because I wanted to get your fresh ideas. I didn't want you to have any preconceived thoughts about it. Let's talk a little bit about, because this is the time of year where sponsorship talks happen, right? And player contracts. According to Ultiworld, there's out of 64 out of 91 pros have their contracts expiring in 2025. So I've seen other people talk about it a little bit, but I wanted to get y'all's take on it. Is this the gold rush era of large disc golf sponsorships fading? I keep seeing that we're not going to see, and I truly believe we're not going to see the big contracts. Is that kind of the talks that you guys get when you're out in the disc golf community talking? What do you say, Brandon?
I mean, I've also seen some of the articles and some of the names not being able to tour, the contracts not being what they were with the kind of the COVID boom. I think that drove sales, drove a lot of things, and not that disc golf isn't still growing or isn't still doing well, but it's not at that same pinnacle that it was, during the COVID boom. So, I can certainly see some of the manufacturers cutting back. And I think it's more and more competitive as we continue to move on. You've got a lot of fresh faces. You've got, the young talent that's up and coming. As I was one of the course directors for U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship, and I had the juniors. That was one of the coolest aspects for me to be a part of, and to see MJ just went pro this last weekend, and to see all the young talent and how good those kids are, it's it's insane. Like, so as we see more of them coming up, how do you balance contracts and you know the rising stars versus our long term touring pros that we've had, kind of at the head of the sport. So I mean, Owen set some amazing benchmarks this year, and it's awesome. I mean, I'm glad I'm not on a touring level, and I got to contribute to my local community and do everything that I do, and Dynamic's been amazing supporting me in just running tournaments from flex starts to bring casual and league players to a more competitive, and then bouncing that into, I run the Wisconsin Tours Pickle Open, which is one of our tour stops and one of the originals. So trying to cater to everybody at every level is what I get to focus on. And that's what I'll say. I'm glad I don't have to worry about contracts.
Now, Kyle, so you have to forgive me. I like, what's your schedule like? Like, do you go out of state or out of your region to play tournaments, or you do more stay local as far as tournaments? And
So,
the reason I ask you is because like you're not on the big tour scene, right? But how does what happens on the big tour scene as far as this type of contracts and things, how does that affect your level of play?
So, like, I can kind of speak to my opinion on why it's happening and what I think we're moving towards. But on what you just said, the less of those bangerang guys that are on tour, the more stick around in my local area and stick around and snatch up all those B tiers and A tiers and stuff like that, which is, in my opinion, good. I think disc golf should focus more on regional level tours. I think that we got too big for our britches too quick. And I think this kind of leads into why I think contracts got so big, and now that they're I don't think it's like a balloon popping. What I think it was a gamble by both manufacturers and the Pro Tour to say, hey, look, we've got more money than we're probably ever going to see. We should spend it now, with the hopes that outside investors will see it, buy into the Pro Tour, sponsor. The goal being that 5-year goal, which we're hitting now, being that maybe we will have worlds, the winner take home $100,000, right? And that just didn't happen, right? That 5-year goal that I can envision like Jeff Spring having, be like, hey, look, we're gonna put money out there. Dynamic, when we signed Ricky, we're going to put money out there. Discraft less so. I think Macbeth is making them a good chunk of change. But like all those big contracts, all those 6-figure contracts came out with the hope that outside companies would see disc golf and go, oh, that's professional athletes. 6 figures a year. That is you are making a living. You can buy a house and a car and have a wife and multiple kids and be very comfortable. It's a professional athlete. And I don't think that has happened enough. I think we have Barbasol works with the Disc Golf Pro Tour on some level, but LL Bean, but not the Nike, not the Red Bull, not the, hey, we're gonna sponsor the whole tour and we're gonna give you $10 million to do with what you will. I think that was the gamble, and now that the gamble hasn't paid off, I don't think we've seen the bubble burst. But what I think we're seeing is just going off of where we hoped we were going to be, back down to probably even above where we would have been had we not spent all that money, had we not got all the fresh eyes on the game. But yeah, so like going into the future, what I would really like to see would be more regional level stuff, because I stay regionally, so I'll travel, like one state bubble. I give myself like a 6-hour driving bubble wherever that gets me to. That's about what I can comfortably do on like a Friday night, play Saturday, Sunday, get back Monday before I gotta, take my daughter to school in the morning.
Yeah.
But inside those bubbles, those 6 to 8 to 10-hour bubbles, that's where I would like to see, the Pro Tour figure out a way to sponsor regional tours, kind of develop the way baseball has their farm leagues, right? AA, AAA ball. They're the Great Lakes League and the Northeast League and the Southeast League and Texas and, the West Coast. And I think there would be a great space for those 1090 to 1030 rated players to cut their teeth on a series of A tiers, and then for the Pro Tour to then reward the very top level of performers in those regional events with the opportunity to purchase a tour card and play the World Tour. I know we're not calling it a World Tour, but we're pretty close. I mean, all they need is an event in Asia that's consistent, and they could call it the World Tour again. But
I like how you said, because from the outside before I came back, it would have felt more like a pop of the bubble, but now it feels more like maybe a balloon deflating, where we're getting back to a baseline. I heard something in an industry some other industry talk about recovering from the pandemic, and they mentioned where I feel like we're now hitting the bottom as low as we're going to go of recovering from COVID. In other words, it's not terrible numbers, but when you compare it to the height of the pandemic, we're maybe hitting flat, but then that's a good thing, because now we can actually look at it and do a better comparison, because it's hard to compare what's happening right now compared to what happened 2 or 3 years ago. But perhaps if we compared it to 6, 7 years ago, we're probably in a better spot than we were 6, 7 years ago. Now, I've heard this from the bike industry, from all kinds of outdoor industries, the same thing we're going through. Tyler, from what you see out there driving around and running local tournaments, do you kind of agree with what Kyle's saying as far as there'll be less people have aspirations to go on the tour, but rather play more local tournaments to maintain maintain their, what I'm trying to say. In other words, make money still playing competitively in disc golf?
Yeah, Eric, we had this conversation with him during USDGC. It's going to go back to where the tour was like when he was on tour, like, back then. You're going to have your core, your top 25, 35 guys that are making money week in, week out on the tour. But maybe, like Kyle says, when we get these guys regionalized and they get their local courses, we're going to see that regional guy that's just got it dialed in, and that can come scare you, have those hot rounds on any given weekend, and really write some fun storylines there as well. So, like Brandon said, to be that guy that's 45, probably 40 to 120 with those tour card guys, it's just a tough road to hoe, man. You can be as competitive and as Yuli as you can be, and that you never miss, but boy, you can't miss or you don't get paid. And that's just the way it goes. So tough spot. I hope some of those kids that are on the up and come, have that little bit of buffer in place to go chase it, because we love seeing those kids get out there and go for it, that have all that talent. I hate to see that kind of dry up. But to what you said as well, Bobby, with thanks to COVID in the pandemic era, production right now on the video side is higher than it was tenfold before the pandemic, right, Bobby? So we have so many more opportunities to get eyeballs on the sports. Even the Passion Project guys, the production is so high compared to where we were with Disc Golf Planet before this all went down, right? So we're going to have higher production even on lower levels and lower scales and regional production, which is going to be great long term for the sport. So I'm excited where the sport's at and where it's going. There'll be a little bit of temporary pain for some of these guys that thought it was going to be a career, probably, but hopefully they can still enjoy the sport and help grow the sport on regionally and those levels.
It feels like maybe like a return to what it felt like before the pandemic, as far as the grassroots feel, and really having to put in I have to say, I really have to put in the time and the work, because I know that the players they do that. They put in the work, but maybe it doesn't quite come as easy as it did during the pandemic. Would you say that to be true, Brandon?
Yeah, I think you're probably on target with that.
yeah, I could see on the sponsorship side, right? Like on the money side of the pro game going forward, I could see, and I would actually get behind companies moving more towards performance level contracts rather
Yeah,
than base money.
like it used to
But
be.
when I say performance level contracts, what I mean is like you get on coverage, it's a paycheck, right? You get a top 10, it's a paycheck. You get a top 20, it's a paycheck. Because a lot of people don't really think about it. You don't see guys 6 through 25. Those guys are so stinking good, and they played so good that weekend, right? To get that spot, and they're not making money right here, right? Like your top 4 or 5 guys are making decent money. Like if you look at the top earners for this year, your top guys that were consistently in the top 10, they're making decent money on tournament winnings, right? Like, so tournament winnings, they're making 50 grand a year, which, if you're living in a van, if you're smart about which hotels you're staying at, you can survive, right? You can make a living out of it. But what I would like to see is manufacturers pull back a bit more on the guaranteed money and say, hey, look, you get a top 25 in a Pro Tour event, that's worth this many dollars, period, right? Whether that's matching winnings or that's worth a set number. You get a top 10, you get an ace on coverage, you bring eyeballs to the brand, however you do it. We were going to pay you for that. And I don't know, I haven't read too many modern contracts. I think that's closer to how contracts were 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
But I know, like, for the past 5 years, the focus on contract writing has been in guaranteed money. It's been in, hey, I want this amount guaranteed and bonuses, and I want signature discs. And I think a lot of that stuff is going to go away, and I would like to see it move towards performance-based bonuses. But you have to make those performance-based bonuses scale. Like, it can't just be get a top 5. It has to be like, hey, get a cash, period, right? Get a top 20, get a top 15, So that's what I would like to see.
Bobby,
Yeah.
I think this would be a fun interview question for a future show during the off season, where you get some of the older guys that had played, 15 years ago touring, and get them to talk about their contracts and how they were written back in the day. I
I
think
like that.
it was such a topic that was taboo back then, and still is to some extent a taboo topic. But if you could get them on there to open up that kind of step behind the curtain a little bit, so to speak, that'd be cool, I think, for people.
An interesting way I look at this when I talk to players, and it's always been my way, even when I've talked to players back in the day, is that and maybe you guys should speak on it and correct me if you feel different. Is that it's a value exchange. It's a value proposition, right? What value can you bring to us, the brand, and then but also what value can the brand bring to you, as far as resources? And then obviously the value comes in, either money or credit or whatever the deal is worked out. But like to your point, Kyle, as far as like when you get on video or when you place well, that's the value we get because we get brand recognition. And then, of course, we help you stay out on the road, however that is financially, or we help you have a better presence on social media. So it's always, to me, it's a value exchange. And sometimes I think people either don't think about it that way or they forget. They just think it's all about what can you give me, but it's more about what can we give each other.
It has to be a two-way street. Has to be a two-way street. I've had so many youngsters come up to me and be like, hey, how can I get on Dynamic Discs? And this is what I'm looking for in a sponsorship. And I'm like, you need to take 2 steps back and think about this for a moment, right? So like, buddy, you have 1 B tier win, and it was at a local course where, you shot 985 to get the win. So let's take a couple steps back, think about what do you bring into the brand, right? Do you have 10,000 followers on Twitter? I don't know, whatever the social media, cool thing is. Do you put out constant video coverage that we can bring, like that you could send to Bobby and he can put it up on the Dynamic site? Are you highlighting our discs already? Or is that something you're only going to do if we give you a dotted line to sign? And a lot of people, especially that 16 to 20-year-old range, before they really enter the industry, they don't understand that it has to be a two-way street. There has to be give and take. There has to be, yes, you're giving us, you're supporting us in whatever way that might be, at whatever level it might be. But the flip side is that, hey, like I put 100 discs in kids' hands a year, right? So 100 kids a year, their first disc is a little, prime truth. Like that is value added back to Dynamic, because when they go to Walmart, our Walmart here has a Dynamic section. It's awesome. I go there all the time, and I fill up the little Lucid Isorbit Mavericks. They feel great. But they go to Walmart with their mom, and they're like, hey, there's a disc golf section. It's the same company that guy gave me, right? That's value added. And it's tough to get eyeballs on that value, right, when you're doing contract negotiations. right? Because it's not like there's not a paper trail. There's not a digital trail that says you brought X amount to the company because that's what we can see. So that's one of the things, like as a player, you have to both like own that and be able to articulate that to a prospective sponsor. Be like, this is what I can bring to your brand. A lot of kids just don't think about it. A lot of people just don't think about it that way. But you're right. That is 100% how it has to be thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. Or Brandon, do you have something?
Was just going to build up,
Yeah.
me coming from, a sales and business background, and that's what I do for my career, constantly working with business. My family had a business. That's 100%. And, when contracts aren't aren't renewed or players are added, removed, fans are just looking at, hey, I like that player. They're not looking at, hey, that player costs X amount of dollars and hasn't produced, a third of that or a fraction of what we're paying out to get that. And I think, in a lot of conversations I have with folks, because there's some big names that have moved around different places, what you got to look at, is there value? Does it make sense as a business? I mean, we can't just throw money around, in our personal businesses, in the companies we work for. Disc golf's no different. At the end of the day, it is a business. Dynamics always, we've had that family feel, and it's hard to lose a brother, a sister, a cousin, whatever we want to call that family member. But ultimately, we do have to remember this is a business. So
Yeah. Well,
All
just
right, one
2
last
weeks
question.
ago,
Oh,
2
no,
weeks
I guess.
ago
Oh, good, Tyler.
on Ulti World, Bob Julio did his interview, and he said the exact same thing. There's a return on investment, so it's across the board. All the manufacturers are looking at it. It's a business.
Yeah. All right, one last question before we wrap things up. I'll give you guys a little bit of time to think about it, but I want you to think of what's one big thing that you think, and maybe there won't be. Do you think there will be a shakeup happening, whether it comes to sponsorship or just something happening within the disc golf world? Maybe some rumors you've heard, what do they call scuttlebutt that we used to call it that you've heard, that you think will do a shakeup in 2025 or at least leading into 2026. For me, I think it's gonna, and I might steal somebody, but I don't know exactly who it's going to be, but I think there's going to be more people that are going to say, I can't, like James Proctor. Of course, his was kind of planned out. He said 2 years. Same with Ben was 5 years. I'm going to 5 years and I'm out. I think there's going to be some other big, then we had Kristen Lott who decided to step away for a little bit. But I think there's going to be some more bigger names or some well-known names are going to have to, for whatever reason, are going to have to decide to step away. And I don't know that that's going to be a good thing for disc golf, because people are going, the whole thing was like, we want to be able to support these players on the road, but the infrastructure right now, we just aren't able to handle that. And I think some people are going to decide they can't go on any longer, and it's going to make people think disc golf is going away. Well, it's not going to go away, but I think that's what's going to happen. What about you guys? What do you have it? Who has one off the top of their head?
My one big thing is we're going to see multiple regional winners this year on the tour. Like, it's just going to happen. There's only going to be, like Kyle said, we see those top 1 through 12 guys kind of cycling in and out of those lead and chase card, but we're gonna have a couple this year, guys that are your Texas guy, like in the old days, your Miles Seaborns and guys that are regional that are gonna sneak in there and really cause some trouble for these guys. Look out for New Orleans. We'll see if some of these Southern kids can sneak over there and do some damage in New Orleans.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that. I'm fairly close with quite a few youngins, kids that are in college disc golf. College disc golf is getting more and more and more popular. As a viewing experience, I do think that it offers something that standard disc golf does not, right? It's like, week in, week out, watching singles all the time exclusively. And then you go and you watch a college disc golf event. It's like a team, team-based event. Yes, there are individual stuff, but the funnest rounds for me to watch are where it's like it's a 4-man team and you're playing a pair of doubles and you guys flip-flop playing alternate shots. It's a lot of fun to watch. And I don't know if it will happen, but what I would love to see happen would be college level disc golf featured on Disc Golf Network, featured on a Jomez Pro production, right? Because right now that's where the eyeballs are in our game. If it's not on Jomez, if it's not on Disc Golf Network, a lot of people don't watch it. They don't watch a lot of Gatekeeper anymore. They don't watch a lot of Central Coast anymore on the national scale, global scale, right? Regional guys, like you're always going to watch your buddy play, you know, that one A tier that Gatekeeper Media showed up to and filmed, or that Central Coast showed up to and filmed, or whoever. Like there are a bunch of different little small companies, and that right there, that's where you see the collegiate disc golf being like highlighted. I would love to see Disc Golf Network, Disc Golf Pro Tour, Jomez figure out a way to film college nationals. I think that would be awesome. And I think it would incentivize more universities to look at disc golf as an opportunity for student athletes, right?
I like that one. That's a good one.
Show off skills.
Yeah, that's good. What about you, Brandon?
I like what Kyle went with. Thinking back to my first Junior Worlds in Emporia, Kansas, with my son, and he was playing against Wyatt Mahoney, and he is playing against Miles Sayer, and these guys are playing at a professional level and having success at it. And Carter Aarons, who I met, back in 2018, and Gannon was, just a junior back then, and seeing, Carter and the Emporia State team, and I met some of those guys too at GBO, DDO, and that is the future. It's cool to see, how those juniors, they're phenomenal players. They were good back then, but now they're winning at a professional level, and podium finishes, and see more coverage of that. And maybe where they have university and club support, and another avenue to get more eyes on the sport, to see the future growing, and just another way to expose, the same way we have high school, then college, and then professional basketball, baseball, football, everything else. You can see, see an opportunity for growth there. And I think that was a good point, Kyle. I like that.
Yeah, I like that. In fact, in Emporia this weekend is I keep calling it the Mark, but I believe it's the Mid-America Regional Championship. And last I knew, they had 151 players. I don't know if there was going to be more than that, but last I knew there were 151 college students going to show up in Emporia and play a little disc golf. Unfortunately, I have some other things that happen that I can't be there to kind of be part of that. But I know Eric and Jackie and all the crew out there will be running a successful event. So definitely. So it is going to be interesting to see as things happen. I know it's good. This is the time of year that when players and contracts happen. And I know even us, we are planning for 2026, and we've got some big things happening. So I know we're going to start hearing different things out in disc golf news. So it's going to be exciting to hear. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the show and giving us your insights and teaching us a little bit about what you got going. I appreciate it. Tyler, I know people can reach out to you on Facebook, or where can they go to figure out where to play a tournament in your area?
Disc Golf Scene. You can follow me there on Disc Golf Scene. You'll get notifications of all the events we're running. I just sanctioned 13 events, 14 events this morning. So plenty to going on. That just gets me through February. That gets me from January to February. So plenty going on.
And you, Kyle, where can people follow you to find out more what you got going on when you're getting that pump in the gym?
I'm terrible about social media stuff, but you can find me on Facebook. I'll post stuff on Facebook typically a couple times a month to follow on with my off-season stuff. And then Instagram, I tried doing stuff every now and again. I think it's Kyle_G_Geo is where you can find me on Instagram. And then I have been collecting a whole bunch of video stuff and disc review stuff throughout the year. My wife got me a camcorder last Christmas, and so I've spent a whole year kind of filling SD cards. And this off season, I've kind of told myself that I need to figure out how to do video editing. So watch out for my YouTube channel. I think it's something goofy like Kyle Juvenity 7200 or something like that on YouTube. I got to figure out how to rename this channel or something, or start a new channel. I don't know. But Kyle Giovanini on Facebook is the easiest way to get in touch.
Okay, Kyle, I don't mean to pick on you, but I'm going to. When you said, I think I have an Instagram and I think this is what it is, how old are you?
I'm 38.
You're not that old to not be.
I have an Instagram. I can't remember what my Instagram handle is. I don't have it off the top of my head. Facebook's easy because it's just my name, you know?
I know, I'm just messing with you. But I did have to kind of laugh under my breath whenever you said you called it Twitter, because it hasn't been called Twitter in a couple years. So
X, whatever.
I'm picking on you. Brandon, I know because I've seen your posts. I know you're active on what's going on in your life. So tell us a little bit about how people can follow your journey.
Yeah, on Facebook, it's Brandon Ray Watson. Instagram is BRW33114, my PDGA number. And then disc golf scene, where I run a lot of events. I've got one coming up. I just ran one Halloween weekender here in October at Road America, which is the world famous racetrack. And I do that every October. Were you going to play disc golf on an 18-hole permanent course with cars racing on the track, feet away from the basket or tee pad, which it's a pretty cool experience. I've been doing it for several years. Had the privilege of designing that course. We do another one in the end of January, which is usually a foot of snow. So it's the same course. We don't have any cars on the track, but we've been doing the Schnee Days, which is part of the local chamber. They do like kites on the lake. They do a chili, a pub crawl, all sorts of stuff. And we had a disc golf several years ago to that mix, which usually has a pretty good turnout. But yeah, I run events throughout the year, some local stuff. Usually get a couple in with Tyler whenever he's swinging through for Silver Cup and some of our other events. So yeah, we had a fun one this year at a private course, which and we worked with a local brewery. We got to set up shop there, run over to a private course, play some rounds, and it's always fun just to throw together some cool stuff.
Disc golf's fun. Remember, guys, disc golf is fun.
Yes, disc golf is fun.
Get out there and play disc golf.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks again, gentlemen. I appreciate your time.
Take it easy, y'all.
Thank you, guys.